From puppets
to CDs,
royalty
to arcades,
drums
to Pokemon. We are a nation of collectors.
Oh my goodness.
Join me, Mark Hill. As an antiques expert and lifelong collector, I love uncovering hidden gems.
Quite incredible.
Unbelievable.
And me, Jasmine Harmon.
Oh,
As the daughter of a hoarder, I know just how things can get out of hand.
this is bonkers.
And I'm going to use my experience to help people manage their collections.
So there are shelving units behind the shelving units?
Yes.
Together, we'll find out what makes our collectors tick.
I feel they're an extension of my family, the royal family.
Keeping it in order stops me becoming anxious.
And reveal what the collections are really worth.
You could pretty much name your price for that.
Sounds good to me.
My gosh.
Well, I didn't expect that.
Come with us and discover what lies behind Britain's closed doors. Tonight,
Oh my goodness.
I meet a woman with a magical miniature collection.
I feel a bit like Goliath.
But will she ever let others enjoy her hard work?
These will never be played with.
No, they're not intended to be played with.
Oh my.
We step into a chamber of horrors.
This is bonkers. What's with all the heads?
Where Mark finally meets his match.
You absolute rotter.
What?
I wanted that.
Ah!
Oops.
Oh, no!
And I meet a man with an arcade addiction.
I haven't seen an arcade like this since I was a kid.
But can we help him hit the jackpot?
Hi, welcome to Arcade Club.
Our first collector is in East London. And since I've heard this collection is not for the faint of heart, it's best that Mark and I go together.
Ladies first.
Charming.
People may see the house and imagine it's this kind of gothic fantasy or whatever it is, but I've always seen it more in a sort of fairy tale, or maybe a dark fairy tale.
52-year-old Simon may live by himself, but he's far from being alone.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, you're not as scary as I was expecting. I'm
not sure how to
Jasmine.
sleep.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
This is different.
An incredible array of all things weird and wonderful have Simon's four-storey house crammed to the rafters. And the allure of the curious stems back to his childhood.
Every time we went on holiday, I'd find out where we were going, and, oh, there's a haunted pub, or there's a stone circle, or there's a legend attached to that place. People don't understand enough about folklore. I'll say to people, what do you think folklore represents? And they go, Morris dancers, or maypoles, but it's so much broader and bigger than that. People who cover their houses in Christmas tree lights, that's a folkloric practice.
Simon's interest in folklore spurred on his collection, which is truly extraordinary. There are waxworks, puppets, artwork, and everything in between. Each item on show has a rather macabre undertone, and some are downright gruesome.
What's that in there?
Oh, she's had a bit of an accident.
I can see that.
Disemboweled doll.
The objects in Simon's home may seem creepy, but not everything is just here to scare. Each piece also has its own personal tale to tell.
So do you invent sort of whole stories?
Yes, well, my day job, I'm a set designer, so I tend to work with photographers to create worlds within worlds for photo shoots.
Now things are starting to fall into place a little bit.
Well, the whole house is like an installation. Think
Yeah.
of it like that.
So you bring your work home with you, literally?
Yeah, I live with it.
Oh my.
It's a kitchen and a half, isn't it?
Is this... Oh, the kitchen is there.
Yeah.
Is it really a functional house? Do you actually live here? Can you cook? You sit down and
Absolutely.
eat?
Big old dinner parties, the lot.
There are all these wonderful objects here, but there are no sort of pictures of family. Don't you miss things like that? Normal things that other people, dare I say normal people, have?
I've no idea about normal people. It feels very much like a family home, but the family just happens to be made up of puppets and things. And
What's the pitchfork for? Sunday roasts?
it's a stang. A stang is a magical object used by certain sort of magical practitioners. It's used within witchcraft.
Found whilst holidaying in Wiltshire, the stang may seem a bit bizarre, but it's just like a regular souvenir for Simon.
I think if you live with things that other people may find slightly uncanny or disturbing, then they no longer become that. You get to know them and you build up a rapport then. And they no longer disturb you because you know them too well. All the things in the house aren't things I specifically collect as such. They're things I come across.
So you don't go out to sort of say, I need a sculpture of Beelzebub?
No, no. I'll stumble across a statue of Beelzebub.
But one of Simon's chance finds is something I'm already familiar with.
You absolute rotter.
What?
I wanted that.
Ah.
I saw that in a shop in North London. It's way heavy, so I had to go back and get my car. And when I got my car and drove back up again, it had gone to you. Oops. Well done. Well, I'm glad it's gone to a right home. I mean, wow.
I won't begrudge Simon for beating me to this beauty. It fits perfectly into this truly marvellous collection. But I'm not sure Jasmine's swayed yet.
This is bonkers. What's with all the heads?
Heads are all from New York. They're those turn-of-the-century shop window mannequins.
So they're made of wax?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a two-headed bird. That's your Christmas present sorted out.
And waiting upstairs is another of Simon's sinister house guests.
Oh. Oh my goodness.
This is Ophelia.
Once part of a now demolished waxwork museum, Ophelia was saved from being melted down when Simon shipped her to London and customised her to suit his collection.
Gosh, she's really realistic.
She's actually from the braiding museum that was on the Isle of Wight.
I thought I recognised her.
Yeah, there you go.
I used to go there all the time when I was a kid. My grandparents lived on the island. Oh, but she's super creepy though.
Is this your intention? I mean, is this your aim, to freak people out?
No, that's not the intention at all. I like to think that it's more magical than macabre. For me, it's not that at all. It really, really isn't.
This really is all-encompassing for you, isn't it? Because the books are, what have we got in front of us here? You've got things on folklore, ritual magic, rare folk tales of Wessex, folklore and legends of Cornwall. I mean, this is your life, this
Yes.
whole thing.
Yes, very much.
Simon's dream is to take his passion to a wider audience.
And it's always angered me that we don't have a museum of folklore in Britain when we've got so much of it happening in this country, which is what I'm trying to establish currently.
His master plan of opening a museum would be the UK's very first dedicated to British folklore.
I'm surprised we don't have one though.
Shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, really surprised.
Yeah.
So what kind of things would be in there?
Generally, around folklore, there is very little material culture because things are either destroyed or they're thrown away or burnt. So it's a real challenge for us to decide what's going to be in the museum and how it's represented.
And will any of the pieces from here go into the museum?
She's not coming, but
No.
yes, there are some things. To actually get that museum open to the public has become an obsession. Hopefully what I can bring to it in terms of my art direction would make it very, very engaging and exciting for people to visit.
I think Simon could have a real eye for curating his own museum, which would give people a chance to experience what he sees at home every day.
And there's still more to uncover here. Jasmine has the pleasure of meeting another of Simon's housemates, and this one is a personal favourite of his.
This is Ruby. Just meet Ruby. She's a ventriloquist doll.
Oh, goodness me.
You rarely get women They're always men, ventriloquist dolls. You rarely get girls.
So, what's Ruby's story?
I don't know the provenance of her, but looking inside, it's incredibly homemade. I think somebody's made this in the shed.
With broken mechanisms and my lack of ventriloquism skills, Ruby can't tell her story. But Simon, with his vivid imagination, is more than happy to have a go on her behalf.
I see her as a very coarse, you know, foul-mouthed, and she wouldn't take any nonsense, I don't think.
Sort of like a landlady of the Queen Vic or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So I don't want to get on the wrong side of
Don't
Ruby.
get on the wrong side of Ruby.
Nice to meet you, Ruby.
Yeah.
Although I can't see Ruby and I becoming lifelong friends, I really admire the dedication that Simon's put into building this collection.
So have you any idea how much you've spent over the years on this collection?
None.
Well, would you be interested, do you think, in having a value, therefore?
No, I'd be curious to find out how much it's worth, but I can't think of anything that's worth more than a couple of thousand. Although I could be wrong. I could be sitting on something that I had no idea was worth X, Y, and Z.
While it would be great to get Simon's collection appraised, far more importantly, I really want to see him make the most of his creative talents and open the folklore museum he's yearned for. And I have just the place in mind that could give him inspiration.
Well, you know, I think Simon and I are sort of almost kindred spirits, but I don't have a house that comes alive at night, so he says.
I think this one definitely does.
From one scary house in East London, I'm crossing the capital to West London to see a whole town that's been secretly under construction since the 1970s.
Today I've come to meet a lady whose passion for all things miniature is far from minute. Her collection spans 40 years and covers everything from opera houses to Art Deco.
My friends are intrigued by it. I call them the ooh and ah brigade. Oh, look at this, and oh, gosh, that's wonderful. My collection has given me a lot of pleasure. It's an interest, but I'm not a fanatic. Hello.
Barbara, hello.
Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. I'm Mark. Thank you.
Come in. Right, quite a walk.
Hidden away in her home, 86-year-old stage school owner Barbara has built her very own toy town.
Oh my goodness gracious! You've even got clouds on the walls.
Yes.
Do you know, I feel a bit like Goliath. Suddenly coming into this tiny
this
town.
Is Lilliput, yeah.
This is Lilliput. It's incredible.
This toy town is anything but miniature, with almost 100 dolls' houses on show.
Barbara's shunned the traditional antique houses that many a collector goes for and instead filled 3 rooms with period mock-ups spanning centuries. From Anglo-Saxon to Art Deco and even room boxes portraying snapshots of real life.
And each of these dainty depictions has been lovingly created by Barbara.
What we're looking at here is effectively 4 decades of collecting and building.
Well, it's certainly 3.
Did you ever see yourself as a property developer?
No, that's what I'd love to have done, actually.
But that would have been hugely expensive, so instead you decided to do it in miniature.
In miniature, yes.
Oh, Barbara, they are incredible. They're sort of almost, I want to touch them, they're like teddy bears.
Well,
or
they
something.
are real thatch.
So you actually have someone come in to thatch
Yes,
these?
there's a chap that specialises in them, and I couldn't make up my mind which one to have, so I ended up having both.
Well, why not, if you can?
Once the artisans have created the shells to Barbara's specification, she takes on the interiors.
Oh, my goodness. Look at that. There's so much detail. You've even got a little joint of meat here.
Yes.
And she's baking.
I commissioned somebody to make a bathroom and a kitchen, and that came to £900 for the 2. I could have bought a real one for that.
When Barbara can't get something bespoke, she hits dolls' house fairs looking for a bargain.
Some of the furniture that you buy for dolls' houses, you know, you want a particular table, you hunt high and low for it, the same as you would life-size. And then when you find it, it's quite thrilling.
This hobby may appear to be child's play, but not for Barbara. All her spare time is spent making sure everything is as exact as it would be in life size.
That's quite incredible. It really is.
In the world of dolls' houses, you've really got a miniature world. Consequently, my houses are real.
Handcrafted dolls' houses can be traced back as far as the 16th century, when wealthy owners used travelling carpenters and craftsmen to create exact replicas of their grand houses to act as a status symbol, and Barbara has echoed her own life too.
Well, these are the shops.
Oh my heavens, you've got a whole row of shops.
Yeah, that's after my father.
So what did your father do?
He was a draper, so that's full of drapery. And then my mother's maiden name was Sturgeon, so I made a fish and chip shop out of that.
So what started your collection?
Well, I suppose it goes back to when I was 5 and my father made me a doll's house, but I didn't like it because he'd stuck the coal for the fire on the wall of the house and it was too big for the size of the house. I'm a Virgo and I'm very critical, and I was critical at 5 years old because he was very proud of it, but I didn't like it. I was called an ungrateful little hussy.
Having turned her nose up at her first doll's house as a child, it took another 40 years before these mini worlds became Barbara's big love.
One day I went to Eton and there was a doll's house shop which had lovely doll's house furniture in it. I wrote a note to my parents, "This is what I want for my 48th birthday," and it ricocheted from there.
Why did you suddenly accelerate from 1 or 2 to over 100 now?
Because that's the way I am. Once I start something, I go on and on and on. And I never know when to stop.
Barbara's not wrong there. Her huge number of miniature recreations cover every spectrum of life, from the NHS and schools to the oldest profession in the world.
Oh, Barbara. That's
Well,
just unbelievable.
There you are.
A brothel. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Considering I've never been into one,
Well,
it's pretty good, isn't it?
How should I know you've got everything? I've never been in one either.
The dolls in this house may appear to be cheap, but genuine antique bisque dolls could sell for hundreds of pounds.
This one is a really old Victorian doll. They had lots of those.
Bathing beauties, they're
Yeah,
sometimes known
is that
as.
what they're called?
It looks like she's had far too much good fun. She's collapsed.
She has collapsed. She should be standing up.
Just going right back to when you were 5 and your father made the house you didn't like, then coming all the way through to today where you're still so keen to get everything right, do you think you'd describe yourself as an obsessive?
No, I don't think I'm obsessive, no. But I do like things right.
Barbara is very protective of her collection, which makes her extremely particular about who she shares it with.
Do you find that children appreciate these when they see them?
They don't see them very often because their little fingers want to pick things up. And I go nearly spare. Don't touch, you know, and it's difficult for a child to look and not touch.
But these things were aimed at children. They were children's playthings. They were children's educational toys, if you like.
That's different. If you buy one for a child, they're different from these.
OK, so these will never be played with?
No, they're not intended to be played with.
Isn't that a shame?
I don't think so.
This reluctance is even more surprising, knowing that when Barbara's not knee-deep in dolls' houses, she spends the rest of her life working with other little people.
In 1945, I opened a school when I was 16, and I'm still running it. It's the Barbara Speaks Stage School.
Boasting famous alumni such as Phil Collins, Naomi Campbell and Keith Chegwin, the school's been open 70 years.
I started the school with 8 children, paid 2 and 6 for the room, and 1 and 6 for each of the children, and made a profit from day one.
For her work with children, Barbara even gained royal recognition, receiving an MBE in 2007. But her dolls' houses are yet to receive the same limelight.
So this is very much a private collection. This is a collection that's all about you.
It is all about me, yes, it is.
Have you ever thought about sort of showing it off and displaying it?
Well, it's too much trouble to move one, let alone the whole lot. So, no.
I can't help feel that that's a bit of a shame. What could be a lively little metropolis feels more like a ghost town.
Good heavens, there's an entire street. This looks very English, that looks very American.
This is Italian, actually. It's like our villa that we had, all primary colours.
This was a regular holiday destination Barbara would visit with friends and family.
So does where you've been inspire you?
Definitely, yes.
So in a way, these are sort of a three-dimensional photograph album.
Yeah, I suppose you could say that, yes, they are.
And some even bear her name.
So tell me a little bit about Villa Santa Barbara.
We had a flat in France.
So everybody here is a character from your life?
There were lots of people like that with a cigarette and a drink. That one's me because I'm topless.
It's clear Barbara's having fun with these dolls' houses, but I've spotted one that's not been given the same amount of attention.
This is hidden away on the floor at the back. You don't like this house,
I don't like this house at all. It smells musty and doesn't really go with the rest of my collection.
So why on earth did you buy it then?
I only bought it because I thought in a collection you've got to have a bit of everything. I hadn't got anything that was genuinely old, so I thought I'd better have an old house.
This looks 19th century to me.
Yeah, it is, but I still don't like it.
Well, this, especially with some of the original wallpaper, would sort of make collectors' hearts miss a beat.
Previously the preserve of the wealthy, it was the rise of the middle classes following the Industrial Revolution that allowed dolls' houses to become mass-produced and accessible for the average Victorian family.
This is the one out of all of them that's more in the sort of commercial collector's piece. Quite like my friends to have a look at this.
It would be very interesting, yes.
This classic collector's doll's house will certainly be one of value, and I'm fascinated to find out if the more unusual mock period properties may also have significant worth. So, with Barbara's permission, I'm going to call in some experts. But school's not out just yet. It's time for me to get a masterclass.
So we have your box here.
Yes.
What's this going to be, by the way?
Probably a bedroom.
And down goes the flooring.
Down goes the floor, yeah. That is a bed. I would paint the bed copper. I would buy a wardrobe and spray that copper. That's off my Giorgio perfume, but that makes a vase. And then you stick something like that in it and Bob's your uncle. You've got a vase of flowers.
Barbara, this is a combination between art, craft, interior design, understanding how colours work. Wouldn't you like to share some of that with your pupils or with other children?
No,
Things
not
like
really. No. I don't think the children would be into dolls' houses. I mean, they play with their mobile phones and their games and one thing and another. That I don't think they're into doing things so much with their hands as in my day we did. You never know.
This is something you can't see or can't learn anywhere else. You're such a great teacher.
Am I?
Yeah.
Well, as a one-off, yes, all right, I'd get the children down from one of the classes. Shake on it, yeah.
Shake on it.
Okay.
Except now with that much glue, our hands have probably stuck together.
Yes.
I'll hold you to
Got the glue
that.
from that.
I think Barbara will be stunned at how her doll's houses will go down with her school children. Perhaps uniting her two loves could be the start of a beautiful friendship.
While Mark's left to look but not touch, I've headed to Lancashire to see an extraordinary collection that's far more hands-on.
So much of what collecting is about is wrapped up in nostalgia. So with each new generation, new things become collectible. I'm about to meet a man who has an extraordinary array of machines, which people of a certain age, myself included, will hark back to with great fondness.
42-year-old Andy is building a collection to recreate a forgotten phenomenon which changed the entertainment industry forever, the arcade.
As far as I'm aware, this is probably the largest working collection of classic video games in the UK.
Having spent the last 15 years collecting machines, Andy has too many to keep at home, so they're hidden away in this 3,000 square foot unit on an industrial estate.
Hi,
Jasmine.
Andy. Nice to meet you. This is amazing. I haven't seen an arcade like this since I was a kid.
Yeah, probably the early 90s.
Andy has nearly 100 original machines on display here. From the classic Space Invaders released in 1978 to every major hit of the 80s, and topped off with pinball machines. And that's not all of it.
The entire collection goes towards 300, but there's projects in that. There's things that are basically just shells, as well as ones that have quite serious faults that we need to get to at some point in time. The first game I ever saw was Space Invaders. I think my dad gave me 10p then to have a go and died very, very quickly. I could barely see over the screen.
Andy recently merged his collection with a friend, and within it are landmark games like Crazy Kong, which led to Donkey Kong, and in turn, the Mario Brothers. Who doesn't remember Pac-Man? Yeah! Which sold over 400,000 cabinets worldwide.
And then there are the games that followed in the wake of the Space Invaders phenomenon.
This is Defender, probably one of the hardest games I know.
Is it?
Yeah, the way they've done the control scheme is so alien to everybody, but people got amazingly good at it.
By 1993, Defender had turned a revenue of $1 billion.
I'm just trying to avoid it now. Oh! Give me 5 years or so, I'll probably clock that game.
Maybe. It is hard.
You doubt my skills?
A Defender, yeah.
This collection is staggering. Thousands of arcade machines were scrapped at the end of the 90s when home consoles came into their own. And yet here they stand in pristine condition.
So where do you get these from? How do you find them?
Some of them are from fellow collectors, others are from eBay. They are still out there, stored in garages, stored in lockups, warehouses, at the back of some of the larger arcade operators. But unfortunately, a lot of the time they're stored in damp conditions, so the wood swells, the electronics just rust and die. This is just a very interesting thing to collect. You've got the beautiful artwork on the machines. You've got machines that have been God knows where in their life, all over the world. They've got a real history with them.
Oh, so what's this room?
This is where we bring poorly arcade machines.
So this is the hospital?
The hospital for arcade machines, if you like, yeah. Being a collector is a double-edged sword. It's great to have the machines, but there's always something that needs repairing, fixing. The wind changes outside, it will break. That's just the nature of it, unfortunately. This is where we store slightly longer-term project machines. These are going to come into here eventually, and they go out into the arcade.
So you eat, breathe, and sleep these machines, don't you?
Well, kind of, yeah. We're just trying to keep everything going. You know, it's the machines are 30 years old, well, older, some of them. So, you know, they do require a lot of attention. At the moment, it's funded by my family. The arcade has become an extension to my full-time job, and it's almost like having 2 jobs now. It's a 6-day-a-week thing, but I love doing it, and that's all that matters.
What would you say your running costs are?
About £1,000 a month or something like that. It's not something you can just do very, very cheaply, because if you do it cheaply, the machines will carry on failing.
It seems criminal that the gamers who would enjoy this collection so much aren't making use of it. But Andy's already had the same thought. The master plan is to open the arcade up to a wider audience.
What does it mean to you, sharing your collection?
We want to show the people who are not even aware there's a community of collectors that collect and restore these machines, that there is somewhere they can go and they can play the games of childhood. I feel it's now almost a duty to create this arcade for our generation, because nobody else is doing it. And it's a bit of a leap of faith, if you like, because it's not been done before in this country.
How much do you reckon you've spent in total on your collection?
Oh, gosh, I don't know, many, many tens of thousands. The money thing doesn't really motivate us. It doesn't really motivate collectors as a whole.
What motivates you?
Keeping them going and keeping them as a collection and actually having an arcade.
Andy's reasons for building the arcade are from the heart. Among those dedicated to making this family enterprise a reality is his long-term partner, Gaynor.
Do you share Andy's passion for the arcade machines?
Yes, I do actually.
Do you?
I adore them, yeah. Ever since I was little, My mum said I should have been a boy, really.
Well, girls can play them too, surely.
Yeah. When I met Andy, it was like a dream come true.
Really?
Yeah.
In more ways than one, then?
Yeah,
Or
especially...
you only love him for his arcade games?
No.
I feel I'm pretty fortunate to have met somebody who actually likes arcade machines and games. It's actually a big thing that with women and arcade machines, they don't like them.
Andy says that for him, the collection isn't motivated by money. I mean, where do you stand on that? Would you like to see this collection paying for itself?
We want to keep it free for everybody as long as we can. But these things need maintenance. It's not about the money.
No.
It's about the machines and keeping it together. It's a thing from the past that could disappear one day.
Andy wants to open his arcade warehouse for the public to enjoy. But to be sure of its popularity, he's already started on a smaller scale from his computer repair shop.
Andy, this is fast becoming an enormous collection.
Yes, this is what we call Arcade Club. This is a project that we've dreamt up to see whether people are interested in playing the old games again.
Andy's doing it at a bargain price to make it accessible to as many gamers as possible.
So for £10, you get 4 hours on all these machines. They're all on free play, and we even include some refreshments in that.
Wow. That sounds like really good value,
yeah, it is.
actually.
It's very, very successful. People love it. We generally get between 20 and 30 people. Everyone absolutely loves it. People are always inquiring about playing the arcade machines. We've even started getting people saying, you know, can we have a party there now? And that's people for the children as well, for 10-year-olds, etc. Most people who come to Arcade Club are between 35 and 45, and they bring their children as well. And it's great. We have a great time. We get on. It's brilliant.
Andy has proved there's a market for his arcade and is now ready to expand and open the warehouse for business. We need to make sure the launch is a success, so I'll be drafting in Mark for support.
In London, Simon is also keen to share his collection. Having acquired all things folklore and frightening for over 30 years, he's got big plans to open a museum dedicated to these curious British traditions. We've long been a nation besotted with being scared, and one item hidden away in Simon's basement has been hugely influential in bringing the spectacle of being spooked to the masses.
Before TV and cinema, this had it all. Excitement, illusions, the occult, and even ghosts. Welcome to the weird, wonderful, and oh so macabre world of the Magic Lantern.
This machine is one of the earliest forms of image projectors. I've come to meet Magic Lantern Society member and showman, Dr. Mervyn Hurd, who's an expert in its thrills and chills.
The Magic Lantern goes back to the middle of the 17th century. In fact, the first mention that we know of a magic lantern in England is in the diary of Samuel Pepys, 1666.
What a marvellous machine. With this sort of brass and mahogany, it looks so Victorian.
Typically, slides are projected through a lens. Each slide has several pieces of glass which can be rotated with a handle to produce the moving elements of the image.
And here they come, a whole host of ghosts and goblins and members of Parliament rising up out of the smoke. There's my brother-in-law.
Originally used by some priests, the device tricked followers into thinking they were communicating with spirits, and so frightened them into having certain religious beliefs. But by the 18th century, the magic lantern provided a good living for the creatively minded.
The first showmen were people who appeared at fairs and public hangings. At that time, there were quite a lot of magicians. They were illusionists, and they used every possible trick in the book with their audiences. Sometimes before they went in, they were told to take their shoes and socks off, and as they walked over a carpet and entered the room, electric shocks would be given to them through the soles of their feet. So they were quite elaborate, these shows.
Audiences flocked to experience the ghoulish images, which, accompanied by spooky sound effects, gave rise to a form of theatre known as phantasmagoria. Venues including London's Lyceum and the Royal Opera House would often entice people to see the main feature by putting on a phantasmagoria show first.
I have here a slide which is the kind of thing which would have been presented in one of those phantasmagoria shows at the end of the 18th century. This is meant to represent a young lady who's actually looking at a phantasmagoria show, and she becomes so terrified she runs screaming from the room.
It's a sort of bearded, I don't know what that is. Is it a monkey? Is it a skeleton?
No, I think she's meant to be a bride.
Oh,
yes.
I wouldn't want to marry that.
I'll show you probably one of the oldest slides I've got in my collection. Dates from about 1790. There's a French slide. I'll do this in French for you.
You may think Mervyn has been possessed, but the Magic Lantern Showman is not only the master of the machine, they're also responsible for bringing the whole show to life. These hand-painted slides mostly told scary stories, but they also covered subjects such as religion, folktales and temperance.
You can see she's having a bacchanalian time.
Oh!
This is what happens when you overdo the cooking sherry.
And look, the wine glass now has a serpent. But looking at the subject matter, it is grotesque, but there's something very much of the fairground about it.
It's often seen, certainly the Phantasmagoria, as a kind of forerunner of the horror film. And I would say it was also a forerunner of the dark ride, you know, the ghost train. And so it was a kind of a dark ride in reverse. You sat in your seats. Although I say you sat in your seats, if you were so terrified, you might actually run screaming from the room.
Compared to the modern technology and special effects of today's cinema and theatre, these images may seem tame, but in their heyday, the show's immersive nature was a revolutionary way to terrify audiences. And it's that all-encompassing experience that I think could be the perfect way for Simon to use his creative talents and bring his folklore museum to life.
Simon, hello.
Hello.
Good to see you. How are you?
Too.
Last time we met, we were talking about the Folklore Museum.
Yes.
Well, in terms of inspiration, I've brought you here today to see something that I think is right up your street.
From the outside, this might look like any other townhouse, but inside tells a very different story.
I feel as if someone's just left.
As if we shouldn't really be here, because they could come back at any minute.
It really feels like someone lives here. I mean, look, there's a broken cup and
Tea in the cups.
it's incredible.
This is Dennis Seaver's house, a museum conceived in the late 20th century, which faithfully recreates the interiors of its imagined 18th century residents, a family of French silk weavers.
I mean, this is about as far away from a museum as you could be, isn't it?
Yes, it's so much more immersive, isn't it?
This should be right up Simon's street. With his work as a set designer, he's perfectly positioned to create something equally as magical if he was to open his own folklore museum.
Would this be the sort of thing that you would consider going for with a museum, do you think?
If we're trying to explain how folklore was woven through their lives, it might be very nice to have something like this.
Wow. Now, whatever party went on in here,
Yes, looks fun.
I wish I was there.
It's the painting.
Good heavens. And there they are having fun. So this is a painting by William Hogarth.
The story depicted in Hogarth's world-famous A Modern Midnight Conversation has been perfectly recreated in this room. Every object from the painting has been meticulously placed, so we're not only seeing, but also experiencing the party. I hope this has inspired Simon.
Which is fantastic because it's set so well. It forces you to engage with it.
Simon's enthusiasm for how the objects have been fused together to tell a story could give him ideas when it comes to building his own collection into a museum of folklore.
How do you feel after having seen this? Could you see yourself doing something similar, perhaps?
This is exciting and engaging, so I think that's really important. That would be a lovely thing to take away and try to implement.
It's great that this experience has been a valuable one to Simon. All that's left is to reveal to him how much his collection is worth.
The value for the 3 rooms that we looked at for all the pieces inside is £35,000 to £45,000.
Oh, great.
Simon has some really eye-catching items. The giant spectacles could fetch around £1,200. The wax heads could sell for as much as £500 each. And unbelievably, Ruby, the one-eyed ventriloquist dummy, could get £600. I'm sure that'll give her something to talk about.
What was so exceptional about the house is the way it works on so many different levels. It works on the visual, it works on the sense of smell, and that's really inspiring because so few places do that. So that's something I'll certainly take away from that visit.
Simon seems incredibly taken with the idea of combining his talent with his interest in folklore to create an experience in his museum. I can see it being an incredibly engaging encounter, just like his collection, and let's hope not too scary a one.
As Simon looks forward to sharing his collection with others, 86-year-old Barbara is quite content with the private nature of her doll's house collection that's been more than 30 years in the making. I want to find out whether her hard work and dedication has paid off, so I've brought some valuers along to take a look at her collection. Husband and wife team Lee and Rachel Gotch work for Bonhams and are experts when it comes to doll's houses.
I mean, this really is an impressive doll's house. I mean, there's a lot of work's gone into that.
Have a look. Wow. Gosh.
The detail, look, the little books and teacups and...
You don't know where to look, really, do you?
No.
There's so much going on.
But I think what shows here is that every room is telling a story.
Is this kind of thing popular with collectors?
It's not period, but you can see the detail that Barbara's put into this, the time, the effort, that she's got everything correct, although it is modern pieces. So there is still a value there. And it's very hard to say. I would have thought to a collector that wants to buy a house like this that is all done, then they're probably going to be willing to pay £700 or £800.
And so does the amount of effort that she's put into each individual house have an impact on its value?
Yeah, very much so. OK, so we've got some lovely doll's houses down here, but I think this one's caught my eye, is the deco one. Let's have a look. Let's have a look inside. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Gosh.
That's proper modern, isn't it, for the deco period?
Yeah. It's a sort of capsule, isn't it,
Yeah.
of time?
This is probably one of the few doll's houses within the collection that would do OK at auction.
It might be interesting.
How much do you reckon you'd value that one at?
This one, I think, in auction, maybe £500 on a good day.
Although Barbara's collection is mainly modern doll's houses, there are still some valuable items here. What I'm really keen to find out is what they make of her only antique doll's house.
What have you found down there, Lee?
Well, I think I found the oldest doll's house in the collection. This is an original Victorian doll's house.
So does that kind of thing get you a bit more excited as a valuer?
Yes, that the paintwork hasn't been repainted or anything like that. This does get me excited. You know, and it's got the age to it. It's 1880s, 1890s. And again, it's nice inside because we've got original wallpapers and the majority of the furniture that's in there, again, is old, antique.
How much would that one be worth then?
I would have thought sort of £1,000, £1,500.
Really?
You should easily do that.
Easily do that.
Yeah.
Originally used in the 1820s as an educational tool, young ladies would have their own doll's house so that they could see how the home should be run. This would prepare them for adult life when they ran their own household.
As doll's houses were originally intended for educational purposes, I've come to Barbara's stage school to see if she's taken Mark's advice and brought some of her collection for the children to enjoy.
Now, Mark tells me that when he came to have a look at your collection, he suggested it would be nice to incorporate the doll's houses in your lessons. How are you feeling about that now?
Well, that's all right.
You've come round to the idea.
Yes, because it is a very good hobby, which teaches them history and interior design. And from that point of view, it's a good hobby for the children if you can muster up their interest in it. You're all interested in dolls' houses, aren't you?
Yes.
Well, what we're going to do today, we're going to decide which bits of furniture go into the room. What do you think this one should be? Kitchen. Yeah. So who'd like to find a piece of kitchen furniture? Well, okay then. How do you do the washing up? That's it. You've got it. That's the sink, isn't it?
Children seem to be really enjoying playing with the doll's house. I think it could be used in lots of different ways in schools. You could use it for any lesson, really, for history, for English, for drama. All children, girls and boys, can really benefit from playing with this kind of toy.
It's not long before Barbara steps back and lets all the children get stuck in.
So what's it like for you to see the children interacting with this doll's house?
Well, it's good, I think, because it's a very good hobby. You can learn all sorts of things.
Do you think the suggestion from Mark of bringing a doll's house in and letting the children play with it is a good one?
Yes, it has been quite a good exercise. I think we may keep it as a semi-regular thing.
How old are you, Shania?
7.
You're 7? So would you like to be able to build your own doll's house?
Yeah.
What kind would you build?
An old-fashioned one.
It's not just the younger children who are being inspired by Barbara's collection. This Year 9 class are using one of her doll's houses in a more creative manner.
So our choreographic stimuli for today's workshop is this wonderful doll's house that Miss Speak has brought in. So they open up 2 little doors. It is a real house, but in miniature.
What are the children doing here?
Well, we have expressive arts, which is a GCSE subject.
So they're using the doll's house as part of a dance project?
Yes.
Your 2 big passions in life are obviously your school and your collection. To bring the 2 together, how does that feel?
It's unusual, shall we say. I mean, I don't normally cross-section my private life with my professional life, but for this instance, it seemed quite a good idea.
Now that's what I call a result.
Back at the house, and the valuers have totted up the figures. It's now time for me to break the news to Barbara.
So, you've been collecting for pretty much 40 years now.
Yep.
Over that time, how much do you think you've spent on Doll's House and their contents?
I suppose in the region of 25,000, 30,000.
And how much do you think it's worth now?
No idea at all.
Rachel and Lee have told me their valuation. They think that if you were to sell it, it would have a retail value to other collectors between £25,000 to £30,000.
Which is what I said.
So are you pleased with that valuation?
Well, yes, I'm pleased and not surprised. I'd like to find somebody who'd pay it, though.
Would you sell it?
No.
No. The valuation basically means you haven't lost any money on it if you wanted to sell it. But I think this collection means a lot more to you than a price tag, doesn't it?
Yeah, oh yes, it does, definitely.
And I think it's wonderful. I must say, I've really enjoyed looking around.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to me as well. And a wider audience now is going to see my collection.
By opening the door to her beautiful collection, Barbara has allowed others into a magical world. I hope she continues to share her passion so that the next generation of Doll's House enthusiasts can be inspired.
In Lancashire, Andy is about to open up his collection to arcade aficionados from far and wide.
It's important to keep them working, to preserve them for future generations as well as our generation. They're still kicking, hopefully.
He's trying to recapture that golden era of a generation's youth that made such an impact worldwide. In London, small retro arcades are starting to appear, but the majority, like this one, cater for the modern gamer.
There are many ways to misspend a youth, and they change between generations and as technology develops. But long gone are those lost days we used to spend at a local arcade for amusement. The big arcade games are an art form in their own right, but now everything is accessible from home, and that's true for none more so than gamers. But it wasn't always the case. Arcades sprang up during the 1920s with shooting galleries and ball-throwing games at amusement parks. And it wasn't long before coin-operated machines were introduced, but they soon ran into controversy with the introduction of the pinball machine. The trouble with pinball was it was deemed a game of chance and not of skill, and was therefore a form of gambling. It was banned in many major American cities for over 30 years in the early 1940s, and to this day it's still illegal to play pinball on a Sunday in Ocean City, New Jersey. It wasn't until 1972, when a table tennis game called Pong was released, that arcade games became fully electronic, and for the next 20 years, the arcade became the go-to place for a new breed of person, the gamer.
One of video gaming's all-time classics, Space Invaders, saw the start of what's now considered the golden age of arcades. The machine was launched in Japan in 1978, and its success was so phenomenal, the sheer number of people pouring money into the slots caused a temporary shortage of the 100-yen coin.
Mass murder of attacking aliens went global, generating a revenue of $2.7 billion. It made more money than Star Wars in the US. Incredibly, Space Invaders wasn't the Golden Age's greatest success. That accolade rests with one of gaming's most recognisable characters, developed in 1980, Pac-Man. Pac-Man's non-violent gameplay was a welcome change from blasting aliens from outer space, and it was also one of the few games that appealed to female gamers. No wonder it ruled the arcade during its golden era.
Donkey Kong was to follow the year after and introduced a lovable carpenter named Jumpman. When the game was released in the US, Jumpman's name was changed to Mario, and he was also given the new occupation of plumber.
In the mid to late 1980s, home computers and personal consoles, from the Commodore to the Game Boy, began their takeover of the market and rang the death knell for the golden age of the arcade. Given arcade games immense success and popularity, it's no surprise that people who remember them the most are breathing new life into them. And with new generations coming on board, who's to say that the arcade won't rise again and tempt gamers out of the comfort of their homes?
In Lancashire, the day has come for Andy to open the doors to his arcade warehouse and find out whether his retro gaming club could be a success on a larger scale.
Andy.
Hi, Mark. Nice to meet
Mark.
you.
Hello. This is incredible.
Indeed.
I feel like a kid in a sweet shop. This is just amazing. And these are all the things that I wasn't allowed to play with as a child. I had my home computer and that was great, but I'm almost about to have a geek-gasm.
Before the gamers arrive, there's work to be done, and I want to help Andy with his branding.
Right, should we pop this on here?
While you get on with that, I want to take a closer look at these machines. Their condition is outstanding, which means their value could be a real advantage to Andy in securing the arcade's future.
With the arcade ready for business, it's time to open the doors.
Should we let them in?
Let the games begin.
In you come, everybody. Welcome.
Hi, welcome to Arcade Club at the New Frontier.
Oh my goodness.
So many people. Hi, welcome to Arcade Club. Everything's free play.
It just goes to show how popular
Hello,
they are.
nice to see you. Hello, come on in.
Hi, hello. How's it going? Are you enjoying it?
I am, yes, immensely.
I'm going to be disturbing you now by talking, aren't I?
Okay, a little bit, yeah.
What's it like just being able to come here and have a free reign to play on anything?
It's brilliant, actually. Yeah, no, it's the best arcade ever, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
So do you think you'll keep coming back? You're going to tell your mates?
Yeah.
How are you getting on with Trot?
Oh, not very well now.
Not very well now, sorry.
Everyone is so engrossed in their own individual games, but I want to see if we can get some friendly competition going.
Most people are just so zoned in on their own game that they're not really interacting loads.
They've just got straight plugged in. It's incredible.
I know. Whole point of being in an arcade, you can get that competitive aspect.
I think we need a plan.
I think a tournament.
Sounds fantastic.
I think we need two teams. Team Mark versus Team Jasmine. That'll get these gamers into a more sociable zone.
Let's go and recruit some gamers.
Choose the best.
We should recruit players for our teams and pit them against each other.
Could I interest you in playing for my team?
Do you two like to get involved?
You want to be on my team?
Come on. You'll be on my team. You want to be on my team?
Go on then, yeah.
Hang on, so you've nabbed Andy?
First to win 5 games conquers all?
You're on.
You on?
Come on, Andy. He's got it again. Okay, I'm here. Yes!
And we're off. Oh!
The party atmosphere's spreading. Events like these will make Andy's Arcade the go-to place for gamers.
Yes! Nice work!
That was so close.
It was close.
Congratulations.
The launch has been a huge success. I think the future's bright for Andy and his arcade.
It's going really well, do you think?
Yeah, wonderful, yeah. Everyone seems to be enjoying themselves. This is what it's all about.
Are you happy?
Yes, they are.
Andy's not motivated by money. His interest is in keeping the arcade running and available to as many gamers as possible, as cheaply as possible.
Are you interested in knowing the valuation?
I've got a rough idea what I think our collection's worth.
Well, the retail value has come back at £328,000.
Wow. I'll tell Mum that. She'll have it all at market tomorrow. Wow, that is quite scary. That's quite scary.
Our valuer was astonished by a number of Andy's machines. This Star Wars cockpit has a huge international audience. Its value is £3,000.
Most examples of this deluxe model of Afterburner from 1987 are broken or have been used for parts. Andy's would retail at a whopping £4,500. And that's before you start on the pinball machines, which are currently going for up to £5,000 each.
I think it's been immensely successful today. Everyone's loved the day. We've done a lot of great things. Hopefully, using the arcade club model, we can expand, build on it. It'll pay for itself. Possibly have a little bit of money left over to invest in new machines, new facilities, even, and possibly expand from there. You know, who knows what the future will hold.
The timing's been right for this hidden away collection to be unveiled and enjoyed by the people who love the games so much.
Hopefully, Andy will soon be riding the crest of a popular wave, paving the way for a new generation to discover the world of the arcade.
It's such a good idea. I think we should set one up in London.
Do you know what, my love? I think we've missed the boat.
Just because you're a sore loser.
Rotten.